What's going on, everybody? We're back today with another Acceptable Casualties battle report. Today we have a little bit of Hail Caesar jumping on the table. We're going to have Romans against Parthians. We'll be back in a second to go over the lists, deployment, and scenario. Alrighty, so here we have our two divisions of early Imperial Romans. Down here is going to be the first division with the general in command. Over here, he's going to have 3 units of legionnaires, 1 unit of auxiliary archers for this division right here. The second division over here is going to be built the same way, except for their auxiliary are going to be just standard medium auxiliary infantry. So we're looking at just 2 divisions here. These guys are going to be kind of themed as very fresh legion, just raised. They're going to have no elite troops, nobody too high up. It's pretty much going to be all fairly green troops coming in. So this is what we're looking at right now for the early Imperial Romans. We'll be back in a second to go over the Parthians. We have our 3 divisions of Parthians. As you can see, these guys are almost done, so just kind of bear with me. There's some generals left to do, and then just some basing I got to decide on. So this is what we're going to be looking at, though, as far as what's going to hit the table today. So down here for the first division with the general, there's going to be a general's household cataphract, and then 3 units of horse archers supported by them. The second division is going to have their general. They're going to have just regular standard cataphracts, 3 units of horse archers, and then a unit of skirmishers with javelins behind them. And then the third division is going to be the same as the second. It's going to have their cataphracts, 3 units of horse archers, and then some skirmishers with javelins behind them. So all in all, this is going to be 3 divisions of Parthians, very mobile, more of an ambush and raiding type army than it is going to be like a standard meet in the middle of a field of battle. So we'll be back in a second to kind of go over the deployment and how the table is going to be set up for the scenario. So here we have our setup for deployment and kind of go over the scenario. So the scenario overall, the idea that we came up with was it was going to be some reserves coming in, another legion to help support an army, early Imperial Roman army pushing its way east into Parthian territory. So there's going to be essentially 2 legions, which are going to be represented right here by these 2 divisions of troops, pushing across this road as it goes up through the map and out that way. And I guess now that I'm looking at it, it'd probably make more sense if they were going west, but just picture you're looking at it from the upside down view. So so you have these 2 units here. They're going to be pushing across the table and trying to get off that table edge over there. There's a cavalry division as well, small scouting auxiliary division for the Romans pushing up ahead to make sure the roads are safe and clear as they push through. But as they push through, they ended up missing some of these Parthian skirmisher divisions that are going to be spread out all through the countryside, waiting to ambush this column as it comes across their territory. So down here we have one of our divisions with the skirmishers, the Greek Peltist mercenaries, going to be built into it, working their way out of these woods here from that corner. You're going to have the second one that mirrors that same setup with the mercenaries. They're going to be coming from this position here around that hillside to hopefully try to hit this column in the flank. And then the general's division there with his household cavalry up on the hill will be trying to hit them from the rear and side flank over here. So the basic rules that we have for the scenario is the game's going to end on turn 7 if there's no winner, and then obviously we'll discuss and decide. On turn 5, Vin will be able to roll for orders for a cavalry division. There's going to be 2 units of cavalry and a general that'll be able to come off there and kind of support them as they get back from scouting ahead, and they'll be able to get into the battle for maybe like a turn or 2 to see if they can kind of turn the tide. The Romans, for the most part, kind of just trying to survive. If they can beat back the attacks, that's great. There's really no point in either pushing ahead on the road or off the road. Like I said, they're on foot, so they're not going to be able to outrun cavalry. So they're just going to kind of have to hold and defend until the sun goes down and their reserves end up coming in to win the day. For the Parthians, they're obviously going to try to break these 2 divisions and either get them to fall off the table back down that road or just try to kill these Romans to a man. And that's basically the plan right now. For turn 1, the one rule we did put in here, since it's going to be kind of an ambush scenario, all the units of cataphracts that you can see, each one of the Parthian divisions has one of them. Cataphract units on turn 1, they will not be able to engage in any assaults It's pretty much going to be just skirmishing for turn 1 by the horse archers and everything. And once turn 2 opens up, then the game will be able to open up, and they'll be able to charge and do as they please at that point. So this is how the scenario is. This is the deployment. It's kind of how the army's going to look. We'll be back in a second to go over Parthians Turn 1. They will have the first turn. Parthians Turn 1 back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 1 for the Parthians. Pretty decent turn for us overall. We had 2 divisions get their moves off, 1 fail to. So I'm just going to take you from this side down the line. So in movement, we came from that back hill up there. I was able to get 3 orders up, but like I said, I just called going to this hill beforehand. For those of you who aren't familiar with Hail Caesar, you have to call your moves before your dice roll. So I called to push these guys up to the hill. I could have pushed further, but this is as far as they ended up going. Back over here, I ended up rolling an 11 for my order roll, so these guys are just kind of frozen for this turn, which is kind of unfortunate. I was really hoping to push them up into this gap over here next to the Roman line, but like I said, they failed the order, so they're kind of frozen in the back right now. And then this division here that was previously tucked into the corner here, I got 2 orders off with them, and this is kind of where I wanted to set them up anyway. It's enough to get the skirmishers to this point, still a little bit out of range of the column. Cataphracts are kind of set back, and then the 3 archer units are here. In the shooting phase, I was able to fire down a bunch of shots down in there, but because I was outside of 12 inches, I was hitting the front of Vin's heavy armor. I know he's in column, but we kind of played it still front armor, so I needed 6s to hit. I only got 1 hit out of those 3 units shooting, and Vin ended up making the save. Down here, I was able to get those horse archers up onto the hill and drop a couple flanking shots in down here, so I was able to pull 1 wound on these guys, and then the second legionary unit right down here, I was actually able to hit them on a 6. They ended up failing the morale test for it. He has a -2 penalty because they were in column. They ended up having to fall back disordered. So this unit's disordered. They also have 1 wound. That's all that happened here for the top of turn 1 for the Parthians. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 1 for the Romans. So we are back for the bottom of turn 1 for early Imperial Rome. Vin ended up starting to get most of his positioning done this turn right now. So we'll start right here with the 1st Division. They were lined up along the road right here in column formation. Vin ended up getting, he wanted to set up a crescent here, and he ended up getting pretty much all your orders off, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You got like 2, yeah, you pretty much got everything you got that he wanted. So the first 2 were able to push up here, getting a Testudo. The archer unit was able to push up into that 3rd spot, and then these guys were able to pop out of column, get in the battle line, but they didn't have enough range. They didn't have enough orders to get into Testudo this turn. So that's what happened here for their first turn. And then up here, Vin wasn't able to do a divisional move because these guys were disordered previously. The marker's off right now because they lose it at the end of the turn. So Vin had to go unit by unit. So down here, Vin was able to get 3 orders off, so he's able to. Right? Are these guys Testudo, or are these guys just?
They were the only ones that actually got the move. Then I failed the next one.
So these guys right here were able to get the move off, so they're going to be protecting the rear of the line over here for this turn. Then next for this line here, Vin was going to try to push up and get these guys into a battle line to kind of protect the middle flank over here for these guys that were disordered. Vin ended up failing that, but since this unit's drilled, he was able to actually push up for 1 movement order. So they moved up a little bit further in column, and then because of that, these guys weren't able to do anything because the division failed one of their orders. So that's pretty much what happened here. And then the shooting phase, Vin fired 3 arrows down into these skirmishes over here, and they're getting 2 hits, and these guys don't get a save, so they're down to 2 wounds out of 4. So they're a little shaky right now, but no morale test for them, thankfully. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 2 for the Parthians. Hopefully we can get that division off that back table edge into the fight here and start circling these guys and raining down some fire. So we'll be back in a flash. Top of turn 2 for the Parthians. So we are back for the bottom of turn 2 for the Parthians. So close. There was a whole lot of so close this turn. So we'll start over here. The division that I had up here, what I wanted to do, I couldn't do a division order. So I opted to try to turn him and get him over to this lip, and I only got 1 order off, so it got him to here. This horse archer that was in the middle, I tried to move him up to the lip over here to create a path for the cataphracts. And then the cataphracts, I was able to swing down. I needed 3 orders because I needed 18 inches to get the charge off. I only got 2, so I got within 2 inches of these guys, so that was kind of unfortunate. And then the last order with him, I ended up failing. Back over here, as you could see, I got 3 orders off on my order roll. I got like 5 dice, so it was enough for me to get what I wanted, which was to fill this gap here, get the horse archers lined up, and then get the cataphracts on the top of that hill over there, getting them in position to attack next turn. And then down here, I did a bunch of individual orders, so I ended up pushing up my skirmishers to get them in the skirmish line. I tried to swing my cataphracts that were there, get them around into a battle line over here, but I felt 1 order short to get that completed, so they're kind of sitting there hanging out. And then over here, I just kind of repositioned some of my horse archers to really try to put some focus of fire down here on this end of the line. In the shooting phase, between the skirmishers, all of the horse archers, we dumped a bunch of shots down here into there. I think Vin made two up saves because he's into Testudo, so they're going to be really tough nut to crack. Back over here, these 2 horse archer units had him in as well. Vin ended up making another 2 up save with them. I needed like 5s to hit, I think, so I only got like 1 out of 4 shots to go through, and then Vin ended up making a 2 up save. And then back here, angle-wise, I was only able to get into the rear of the second Testudo line right here, but I failed both shots, so they ended up lucking out with that. And then obviously the javelin skirmishers are a little bit out of range over there. Over here, Vin made a 2 up save with one of the shots that I got from that guy right there. Couldn't shoot with him, obviously, because I had horse archers in front of him. The guy over here, I had to shoot at Vin, obscure through some of the trees, and then the distance I needed 6 to hit, so no luck with that. So yeah, not a lot of success here in the skirmishing phase for the Parthians. I kind of see Vin's going to get a little antsy and start breaking that battle line. See how lucky I get. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 2 for the Romans. So we are back for bottom of turn 2 for the Romans. For this turn, just a lot of positioning, getting Vin in better defensive positions right now. So we'll start down here with this division over here. Vin ended up getting these guys formed in the battle line out of column, which was huge, and got them lined up on the side of the road. He did individual orders for each of these as well. These guys who were tucked down here in column, Vin got 3 orders off, which was enough for them to get up there and support the line over here. With his auxiliary, Vin was trying to get tucked into over here to form a full battle line going across, but he's only able to get 1 order off, which kind of marched them up the street a little bit more. Down over here, Vin failed his last opportunity for orders on these guys. He is drilled, so he had opportunity to turn tail. He wanted to get over here to kind of defend the back end of this line over here, but he opted to just kind of stay still, so he didn't show his tail to the horse archers over there. For this division over here that was previously lined up that way, Vin just kind of swung them all out with a division order all together. Vin actually has to move his general down there. And then got everybody kind of lined up. Front units still in Testudo. Is this Testudo down here as well?
Yes.
Yes. And then that's all happened. In shooting, Vin just had his archers fire 3 shots down in the cataphracts and missed everything. There was no other shooting anywhere on the table. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 3. Should be the charge of the cataphracts. We'll see what happens here. I'll be back in a flash for the Parthians. So we are back for the top of turn 3. Finally got into the mix in this one. It's actually a pretty good turn for both of us in certain engagements over here. So we'll start down over here. And I'll just do this division by division for shooting and everything else. So I had that cataphract unit here. I ended up charging in with that horse archer unit right there in support. I had 14 dice needing 3s to hit. Vin needed 5s to hit in return because he was disordered, 16. And he had 16. No, 13. You had 13 dice.
I had 16. So I had
oh, you had the general. That's right. Yeah, 3 from the general, 3 from the supporting flank. We ended up getting pretty similarly on the number of hits, and I failed a ton of saves, and I had to roll my morale with my general's household cavalry. They broke off the table, and their supporting horse archers fell back, retreated disordered into the hillside over there. So yeah, things are pretty crazy down here on this flank. This line actually held pretty well. As far as shooting goes too, we fired some shots down into here. from those guys and those horse archers, but no damage was done. And then these horse archers that were up on this hill edge right here was able to pluck a wound off of the auxiliaries down here. On this side of the table, these guys weren't able to shoot anything because this cataphract unit right here charged down from the hill. They were able to hit the one legionary unit in the flank up there, but Vin was able to turn the face on that one, but we kind of routed them. We had a lot of wounds. Vin failed, 6 out of 6 armor saves?
Yeah, something
or
crazy.
morale saves, yeah, and then Vin ended up failing his motivation, so those guys right there broke off the table. And then I consolidated into another combat. I was disordered. We hit these guys in the flank who were previously up here. They were supported by the archers back there. We ended up winning combat 3-2. Vin's units are disordered. They ended up falling back, and then I ended up just following up into the combat and staying stuck in with them right there. And over here, failed my charge with my cataphracts to get into these guys, so that was kind of unfortunate. And that's really all that happened here for the top of turn 3. So things are starting to get mixed up, but I don't know, man. Roman legionaries, they're looking like they're in pretty good shape right now. Especially on this flank over here. If they're able to kind of wheel in and support these guys over here, it can be a rough time here for the Parthians. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 3 for the Romans. So we are back for bottom of turn 3 for the Romans. Not too bad here. There were some victories here. So we'll start down here on this end with these guys. They were disordered, so obviously they had to stay still. Vin went open order with these guys on 2 orders. He was able to turn, get them into open order, and then throw a couple jabbies down into them. Then got 1 hit. I ended up passing my 6-up save, so I lived to fight another day on that one. The unit that was supporting the line over here, Vin was able to get a charge off on the horse archers that were there. I did an evade and a Parthian shot. I ended up passing and didn't do any wounds on Vin, I don't think, right? Yeah, I didn't even hit you yet, so you ended up breaking off pretty good. And then the unit, these guys that were previously down here, Vin was on fire actually with his order rolls for this division. Everybody got to do what they wanted to do. Vin was able to be in Testudo, he was able to wheel. He charged in. I tried to evade with my skirmishers and get out of there, but they got run down and killed. And then with Vin's consolidation, he was able to get into another one of the horse archer units. But I passed my evade, ran back Parthian shots, but nothing, no damage on these guys right here. Everything else pretty much, Vin pushed these guys up to kind of support the flank of those guys in that combat right there. But after this combat here, the cataphracts ended up grinding out the 1 infantry unit of legionaries that were here. They pretty much killed them not killed them to a man, but they got run down, broke off the field. The archers that were supporting them, they had to fall back, and they ended up being like half the base off the table. So they're disordered and off the table, but they lose disorder because it was Vin turn when the combat happened. Also, these cataphracts are now shaken, so I'm going to have to unshake them to get them back in play. And that's pretty much everything that happened there for the bottom of turn 3. We're going to be going to the top of turn 4 for the Parthians. Vin's getting pretty close to getting those that scout cavalry to come back in off that table edge, so I'm going to have to start really getting a good foothold on the middle part of this table here, or I'm going to get flanked pretty hard. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 for the Parthians. So we are back for top of turn 4 for the Parthians. Trying to push Vin around the table down here. We'll kind of see how things play out. All right, so we'll take it from this end first over here. For down here, I had that unit that was over there. I elected to shoot him through the gap over here. Kind of just be a nuisance. Vin had a couple traversing shots, but he needed 6s, so nothing went through. So these guys are kind of just hanging over here right now. In the shooting phase, I was able to get a hit down here on these guys, but Vin ended up making his save, his 5-up, so they're still okay. Down there as well, I got, I think, 1 hit on these guys, but Vin was able to make a save on these guys as well. Or no, I got a wound on these guys, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got 1 wound on these guys over here. This unit that was here, I fired from there, into these guys, and we were able to steal 1 wound off of them as well. But Vin ended up passing his morale test, so they were okay. Down here for these guys, remember this unit was shaken. The horse archers weren't, but I kind of kept them there. But these guys, I pulled the general over to unshake them, so they still have 5 wounds, but they'll be able to be activated next turn. And then down here for this combat, Vin threw his general in to them. I had my skirmishers support the cataphracts after I got a charge off from back over there. I was able to win the combat by 1, 4-3. Vin's disordered, but he had to fall back disordered after the morale test. So we're kind of locked in right there. Wasn't able to kill his general in close combat, which is kind of unfortunate. You need a 10 to see if it happens. I've gotten a 9. I think on 2 turns where we've had generals in combat, I rolled a 9 twice. So close, so close. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 4 for the Romans. Got to weather the storm for one more turn, Vin, and your pony's going to end up coming in, which would be huge. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 4 for the Imperial Romans. So we are back for bottom of turn 4 for the Romans. Vin's hanging on, man. I gotta give him credit, man. He's dinging up my units right here. So we'll actually start on this flank over here. So Vin opted to wheel these guys in and try to get a charge off over there, which actually didn't end up happening, but he was able to get the order off to face. Over here, these guys actually pushed up to get in the Javi range, took off 2 wounds off of my horse archers there. I wasn't able to do anything. And then the unit that was previously down here was able to turn, charge with 3 orders, and I was able to evade, but he's still hot on my tail right there, kind of getting dragged into this pit of death over here. Just bodies everywhere. If I had the models for it, it's a mess on the side of the table right now. These guys ended up just dropping into Testudo to kind of protect them from all the horse archers that they got kind of sitting around over there. And then down here for the combat that was here, we were up there previously. Vin and he had that disordered legionary unit, and then his archers came in off the table edge. The way we house rule it is, if you have a unit that's off the table that got pushed off and comes back on the next turn, they're able to walk in to support the unit, but you can't just like charge off the table edge into a combat. Like if Vin wanted to like take those guys and like flank over here, you can't do it. You can only bring them off the table edge as a support unit to get back into the fight. You can't charge off the table edge into combat. So the archers ended up pushing up to the back of that legionary unit. During combat, it was pretty close. Vin only lost by what, like 2, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3 or something like that. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but he was shaken, so he rolled on the table, and it was enough to break him off the table. I only took 1 wound, so I was okay. I just followed up in the support right here against the archers, and then that was the end of it. They actually ended up holding, so they're going to be locked in combat next turn. So that's all we're looking at right now for the bottom of turn 4, going into the top of turn 5. Remember, we're only going to play like 6 or 7 turns here. See how things go. We'll play 6, then we'll do like a 50-50 roll for turn 7. Vin's Cav should be coming in next turn, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to have to kind of get this short up over here. I want to get caught in a vice. So we'll be back in a second, top of turn 5 for the Parthians. So we are back for top of turn 5. Shame. We'll get to the shame at the end of it over here. So up over here for these guys, I ended up staying still, stayed still, tried to run away and failed. So that's happened with that division. Remember, since these guys are so far out of command range of the general right there, I needed 7s as a baseline for my orders to go off, and then it didn't work out too well. So for the shooting for them, I fired a couple shots down here, didn't get any hits. Over here, I was able to shoot in Vin's flank with these guys. I got 2 hits, but Vin made both his 4-up saves, so that was pretty big for him. These guys, like I said, who were in Testudo, I mean, you look down, horse archers everywhere. The guys right here that were previously there, I was able to move up and not able to get them to turn around. So I had 8 dice going into there. I think I got like 3 or 4 hits, needing 5s, but Vin made all the saves. He only had a 2-up because they're in Testudo right now. It's pretty huge. Down here, these guys, I just set them up and turned to face to kind of set up a counter charge if they get a little bit closer. And then I just moved the horse archers that were in support. I kept them in support over there with the general next to them. And then this is just terrible.
This is amazing.
So The archers that came in that were in support, they needed 5s to hit. The general was attached to them, so they had like 10 dice, I think, or something like that, 10 or 11 dice. I was rolling in there. I needed 3s to hit. I had like 8 dice on the attack. I only got 3 hits. Vin got how many hit? 5 or something like that? 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I ended up failing all my saves, but I think 1 or 2 of them. So I was shaken. Vin only took 3 wounds. So
I took 2.
You took 2 wounds. So Vin ended up winning the combat. But I ended up rolling pretty good on the morale table, so I was able to keep these guys in. But I just lost close combat to medium infantry archers with the cataphract unit, which is extremely disheartening. And they're shaking going in, and Vin's going to have cavalry coming in from that back table edge. So this isn't good right now. This isn't that good. I thought things were looking pretty good, but like I said, I got some dinged up. I only got 2 cataphract units here that are extremely dinged up, and a bunch of fresh horse archers. So we'll see how things play out. Bottom turn 5, Vin has a chance to get those reserves to come in, so that could be the tide that turns the game. So we'll be back in a flash. We are back for bottom of turn 5 for the Romans, and yes, that happened. The cavalry did come in. Vin went bold. He went for 3 orders, pushed them all the way up. He had nothing to lose. He was actually able to run down one of my horse archer units and kill him. I failed to evade, and the other one I was actually able to evade with Parthian shot. I was actually able to take 2 wounds off, so that was kind of nice. But if you look at how the rest of the things are unfolding over here, it's not as good as things started. So down, I guess we'll actually go back up over here. Vin was able to get 2 hits in the shooting phase with these guys. Kind of everybody stood still. I was able actually to save 1, and then with my motivation roll, it was retreat in good order because Vin hit me with a 6, so I had to roll on the table. So I only have 1 wound left with those guys, but they're still looking okay. Down here, they weren't able to do anything. Vin, this was still part of that same division. I know it's getting confusing because things are a little mixed up right now, but these guys were part of that division over there. They're still barely in command range. Vin was actually able to... You failed, but you were able to move up 1 because you were drilled, which forced another unit to have to evade, and they did, but no wounds were done, I don't think. And then down over here in the close combat, the archers finally fell. So they actually got a pretty decent amount of hits. I made like 3 out of 4 saves, or 4 out of 5 saves, and then Vin ended up failing. He ended up losing combat by I think like 1 or 2, but then he rolled double 1s on the morale table, which just broke them off. But like I said, these guys are left here shaken, so it's not an ideal situation to be in at this point. So that's what we're looking at right now for top of turn 5. We're going into turn 6 right now. Parthians kind of got to rally and get it together here because that Roman cav, that auxiliary cav, can do some damage here and really put me in a bad position. So we'll be back in a second right now for top of turn 6 for the Parthians. We are back for the top of turn 6. This was all horse archers. Nothing else really happened here. I failed orders left and right, which kind of kept everybody locked in place. I don't think I was really able to actually move anybody. Was I, Ben?
No.
No, yeah, I don't think anybody moved at all for the most part. Everybody kind of stood still. The only thing I was able to get off that did anything was down here. I was able to pull these guys from being shaken, so they can't get rear charged, which is kind of nice. Up over here for the shooting phase, we were able to fire down and pluck a wound off of the legionaries right here. I wasn't able to get a line of sight over here because we had that hill in the way, so it was all focused on here, pluck 1 wound off. Down here, these horse archers, point blank, fired a shot off. I was able to get these guys down to 5 wounds. I was really hoping to get these guys shaken and take them out of the mix. Between these horse archers and those, we were able to fire into the 1 medium cav unit that was there. Knocked them down to 5 wounds. They had to retreat in good order, but like I said, they're still in the fight. They're just a little bit further out. And then back over here, these guys fired into the Testudo unit. We got 1 hit. Vin ended up making his save. And then these guys, they're just staring off into the trees. I couldn't get them turned around. Would have been nice, but unfortunately it didn't happen. And then down here, never got the opportunity to even charge these guys because I failed an order previous to that. So that's all that happened here for top of turn 6. We're going into bottom of Imperial Rome for turn 6. Vin's going to get his turn, then we're going to do a 50-50 roll to see if it goes 1 more turn afterwards into turn 7. So we'll be back in a flash for the Romans. We are back for the bottom of turn 6. Things got a little messy here. So pretty much what ended up happening was, we'll start down on this end. Vin pushed both of these guys up to the top of the hill. He was able to shake my unit there, but they only had to fall back in good order because of my good morale roll. So they're kind of sitting there. These guys were trying to get a charge off the top of the hill, but they weren't able to get close enough. Down over here, Vin's one unit of legionaries, they were able to turn and charge into the cataphracts. I met him halfway. Vin was also able to get these guys into support, so they were ended up getting locked in combat there. During the combat, Vin ended up winning by like 2, right? Three. Vin won the combat by 3, but I rolled like a 10 or an 11 on the morale, so I ended up just falling back, disordered with supports. So we're still locked in. If there's a turn 7, this will continue. I'm gonna need like 6s to hit Vin. Vin's gonna need like 4s to hit me. So it's not an ideal situation right now. Up over here, the Cav, they actually did pretty good. I think Vin, you were able to run down one unit and then shake off 2 units. I only took 1 wound with Parthian shots as my guys rode away. Yeah, so these guys ended up pushing down here. Another unit got run down. I wasn't able to evade, and then I had another unit kind of break off going in that direction. So a pretty decent turn for Vin. Everything's kind of buttoned up here. We're gonna do the roll right now on camera to see if the game goes to turn 7. Vin, I'm gonna let you pick your poison, man. Where do you want it?
We'll put it right in the center now.
Here, throw it right there.
Right.
Say 4, 5, or 6. We'll go one more turn. Yeah. All right, we're going one more turn. Parthians, top of turn 7. So we are back for Parthians, top of turn 7. This is just a hot mess. So down here, we'll just start over here. I fired into Vin with these guys back there. No movement really at all at this point from this side of the table. Wasn't able to do anything. Vin was pretty hot with his saves on this side over here with his horse archers. Down over here, as far as orders went, I was able to kind of get these guys pushed up a little bit. I failed to kind of get him swung around and looking back. So between those 2 horse archers, my horse archers down here, we were able to actually get this cav unit 5 wounds on him, which was pretty huge. Over here, I really needed this to happen, and it didn't. I was able to turn these guys around and push them out. They didn't get hit with any traversing shots, and then they fired 2 of their javies over to here. All I needed was 1 hit to go through, and I would have shaken these guys and taken them out, and nothing worked out there. So it all came down to what could I do with these guys. I need to get 2 orders off to turn them around and charge them. I ended up rolling double 6s, so that's a blunder. They ended up running into the rear of these guys, and they made them disordered, which was extremely unfortunate. And then in their close combat, even though they were disordered, shaken, they lost the previous combat, I needed 6s to hit.
You rolled like 5?
I rolled 5 6s in the close combat, and it was enough for me to beat Vin by 1. And then he ended up
break every single save.
I made like every save. I think except for I did right. I made every save. Yeah. So Vin ended up losing the combat by 1. He saved like 4 out of 5. I saved 4 out of 4, and then he had to roll on the morale table, and it was enough to say if you're shaken, you have to break, which he was. So he broke, and then his supports fell back disordered. So I'm shaking here, not in good shape, and I got 2 cav units staring me down, and we're going into the bottom of turn 7. I don't know, man. Things can get kind of ugly here. We'll see how things shake out. Be back in the flesh. We are back for the bottom of turn 7.
Hot dice.
This was hot dice. Yeah, this is really hot. So over here on this side, we'll take it from over here. Nobody's really able to move. Vin ended up failing his first order at that point. No rerolls. His general was outside of 12, so Vin needed like 7s to get an order off, and it didn't work out like that. So nobody's in firing range. They're just kind of staring each other down over here. These guys were disordered, so they weren't able to be activated. Vin's Cav, they were able to charge in. Like I said, they were faced off over here. In this combat right here, I had some pretty good dice. Vin had some okay dice too.
Oh, no, I had really good dice.
Yeah, but like I ended up winning the combat by like 2 or 3, and it was enough for them to break off because both of us were shaken. Vin had like 5 wounds. I already had 6. So yeah,
I think it came down to I had like 12 dice. I hit you with 12 and you hit me with 9.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
on both.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and Vin had a 5 up save. I have a 4 up, so the saves kind of factored in a little bit on that one. So we were able to break off the medium cab there, and then down here, Vin was able to get a charge of over here. I was able to turn to face, obviously, because Cav were able to turn to face. Vin was able to get in there. He did pretty good too on the hits, but I had some decent saves and on that as well. And I was able to win that one pretty decisively, wasn't it? By like 3 or 4.
yeah.
Yeah. The dice gods weren't too kind to Vince Cav on that one, so they ended up breaking for morale as well. So the Cataphracts, even though they were kind of beat down pretty bad, were actually able to hang in the fight. All the generals survived. They were all in the combats as well. So this is what the table looks like at the end of turn 7. Vin and I are going to kind of discuss the terms for victory, and then we'll be back in a second for the end of game recap. So we are back for the end of game recap. After a brief discussion and kind of how the terms played out, we would say that the Parthian ambush was a pretty decent success. We were able to take out one full division, the front division that was up here with the lead general in there, the Legatus. He ended up getting taken out, and then the support cav, we were able to take them out too in that last turn of the game. We were saying too for the Romans at this point, obviously for the Parthians, we have a lot of skirmishers left. Probably able to do a little bit of skirmishing, but we thought Vin, he had only 2 wounds on these guys, 1 wound on those guys, 1 wound over here. With how well these guys were still intact and how close they were to kind of falling back on this road into the woods, we felt that they would be able to fall back, regroup, and not be captured or killed as far as how the battle broke out.
Small victory.
Yeah, small victory. Yeah, small. Well, to them it's a big victory. Yeah, to them it's a pretty big victory. Because all I had was horse archers, and horse archers in the woods probably wouldn't be the best thing running around shooting. They're probably more geared toward open plains. And my cataphracts, like I said, they're both shaken. They're not going to be able to run anybody down. But as far as the how the ambush went overall, it was pretty successful. So I would say, Vin and I both thought, victory to the Parthians. Not an overwhelming victory, but it's still a successful battle for the Parthians. As far as battle plan goes, what I was thinking when we had the scenario set up, I wanted to kind of get almost like a crescent set up from here and kind of push around to that and really try to pepper Vin's line up here, but Vin got into that defensive line pretty quickly. And when you're shooting horse archers at the front of the legion, it's not the best thing to have because they're heavy troops. You need like 5s to hit at close range, 6s at distance. Vin gets like a 2-up save when he's in Testudo, so it was a really tough nut to crack. The Cataphracts did really well over here as far as getting into the line and doing a little bit of damage, which kind of helped. Back on this end, though, good God, man! When we failed that initial assault into Vin's lineup here, and I lost the general's bodyguard on the first round of combat, like that was it right there. Yeah, I knew the back end of the line. I had skirmishers, but they're skirmishers against Roman legionaries. Like it's not a good matchup head on. You have to kind of get around the flanks, and the way Vin was positioned here with his hill that he had set up, as well as like his other part of the line over here, there was really no place for me to kind of get behind him unless I really pushed in over here, and I didn't want to spread my guys out because they were already spread out enough as it was. It wouldn't have been a good scenario leaving my horse archers out to dry like that, especially with evade orders. It just wasn't going to be very good. But overall, that's kind of what I was thinking for the Parthians. Kind of get Vin hemmed in and just hope to pepper him down a little bit. But he was making the Testudo saves and kind of hanging in there early. I think if this game would have ended on turn 6, I probably would have said Roman victory.
Yeah, I think I would have.
Yeah, and like a slim Roman victory. But I think there would have been enough review left on the table with the Cav left. And my guys kind of shaken and dinged up. I think he would have beat back the ambush and been okay. But like I said, that going one extra turn, it made the hell of the difference. I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as you having to start out in column and then recover and how the battle went after that?
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was very disheartening at first, where I was just like, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, at the beginning, it swayed back and forth there for a while. Yeah,
it was fun. I knew right off the bat, like, it worked later in the game, like my main plan, which was to obviously make that one line on the bottom and then my main plan was to bring 2 legionnaires to cover the top and then leave the other 2 over here to just kind of hold them back a little bit. Like I didn't plan on going past the hill that much.
Yeah, which
Like,
you shouldn't. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have gone past the hill. You held it right.
so I was just like kind of hoping to just kind of make a big box and wait for my cav to come in. And when they came in,
It's a
finally,
hammer and anvil.
yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, but you got, I mean, 3 orders off that table edge. When they were able to shoot down here and just close that gap on turn 5 as well. Like, that was huge. That gave me a heart attack. I was like, man, this is not going to be good unless I start getting some of these guys off the table, which I did. But I like I said, if it would have ended turn 6, you would have probably won. I would, like I said, I would have given it to you. But like I said, that extra turn, and then just the way the dice fell with the cav, it was.
When I tell you Joe's dice, like my dice were not bad at all.
No, yeah, this was
not at all.
This was not a 1s and 2s. Like if you guys would have seen the dice rolls through the game, there was a good like 3 or 4 turns where I needed 3s to hit, and I was hitting less than 50% of my hits like consistently in like 3 or 4 combats in a row. It was really really bad. And then at the end of the game, they were through the roof. Like, they were doing really really well.
I think like you were hitting like over 75% probably.
Yeah,
like
on the last two combats. Yeah, I'd probably say we had between like 60 and 75%. It was really really well when I was needing like 5s and 6s to hit. It was
your chance of winning that was super low.
Yeah, and it, like I said, it panned out. But
and that was awesome.
Dude, I love playing Hail Siege. We got to get some more armies in so we can kind of mix it up. Like, I don't know how interested you guys are in seeing like Romans against Parthians. Maybe we'll do like a campaign for it, so it's not just like this redundant thing. Every time we put them on the table and then and get them out there. But like I said, I want to add some armies to this. It's just a matter of when and then getting them painted up and thrown out here. But like I said, I hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. You know, give us a little bit of feedback in the comment section. Really appreciate it. And like I said, thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys later.